My grandmother's house is haunted. Period. I've been telling people for years it's haunted, but I've been brushed off because nobody has died here. Very recently, other members of my family began to notice things and are asking if I think the house is haunted. I kinda gave my mom a look like, really? Anyway, here's some stories. When I was younger, probably in elementary school, I would see people on the second level peeking over the ledge we had. They were not fully formed people, but rather these dark, shadowy figures. It freaked me right out, but I also was young and I could have been imagining things. Now, when I was a bit older, in high school, I thought I was maybe going a bit insane. Schizophrenia or something like that. I was in the bathroom getting ready for bed when I hear a voice.
What are you doing?
I opened the bathroom door quickly to tell my grandmother not to tease me. She was asleep on the couch, and not faking asleep because there's no way she could move that fast. I ignored it and went to go lay down. I sleep on the couch at this point in my life, and I'm trying to drift off when I hear another voice, a different voice, ask,
Do you think she can hear us?
I slept on the floor next to my grandmother that night. Now, one day I was in school and I decided to tell my homies about it. Everyone is a little comedic about it, teasing me and all of that. A few weeks later, an actual friend comes over and we're baking cookies. We put them in the oven, close the door, and look at each other. What should we do now? I ask. My friend pauses, opens her mouth, and we both freeze as a little girl's voice said,
You can play with me.
Nope, there is no little girl in the house. My friend, God bless her soul, called her dad then and there and left. I'm so sorry, Caitlin. Now I moved out. I left home and only moved back December last year. I didn't hear anything and I assumed I was not losing my mind. About a week ago, my grandmother confided in me that she was worried about hearing things. She said that she sometimes hears my mom ask her questions when my mom even isn't home, or when somebody else is calling out to her. I was really concerned about dementia or something similar, and I also bought a carbon monoxide detector. I brought up the incident to my sister since I was going to push my grandmother to go to the doctor. My sister then informs me that she also heard voices too. She says that they call her name, and when she goes to talk back to the person calling out to her, no one is there. She gets upset because my room is next to hers, and when she hears my voice, she goes into my room and I'm not there, wasting her time. The flickering lights are one thing. The shadow people can be a trick of my mind, but for multiple people to hear voices now, it changes the game. At this point, I need to get rid of this thing, but it'll take me some time to understand everything. I believe in ghosts, but a mimic? I don't know how I feel about that. Here's the last story of my mom when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I had one of those little toy phones that had different sounds and you can hit a button and it would ask, how can I help you? Well, I'm at preschool and my mom is in the kitchen stressed out. My father and her had been trying to purchase this house, but the owner was in a hospital and sick and could not sign anything. She then hears my toy go off, picks it up, and then turns it off. She continues doing her thing, and then she hears it again. How can I help you? She heard it 2 more times, which annoyed her at this point. She then removes the batteries, sets it down, and it beeps. How can I help you? My mom absolutely loses it. She's pissed. She's tired and stressed out and goes, if you want to help, get the old man out of the hospital to sign our papers. Literally, the next day, she gets a call that he was better and he had signed the documents. Those are my crazy stories, and oh, some extra notes. We used a Ouija board once several years ago. We said goodbye and everything. I severely doubt it actually did anything. Additionally, I don't practice witchcraft, but I do use tarot cards for fun. Maybe I should stop. I haven't told many people about this experience, but it seems like this would be a good place to share. This happened about 20 years ago when I was 14. My friend's mother was very into the paranormal world, and one night we, myself, my friend, her mother, and a few other friends decided we needed to use a Ouija board. We turned off all of the lights in the house, but lit a couple of candles on either side of the board which we had sitting on the coffee table. We all sat in a circle while her mom told us a few rules about the board. Suddenly, my friend goes, "Let's do a seance." So our mom tells us all to join hands, and no matter what happens, do not break the circle. Her mom starts asking if there is anyone with us, if any spirits would like to communicate with us, etc. A few minutes went by and we hear a huge crashing sound coming from my friend's room, followed by what sounded like people walking in her bedroom. We all look at Laura, my friend's mom, and she yells out, "Hello?" Another loud crash and we hear someone say, "Shh." And then all of a sudden my entire right side goes completely ice cold. Tears start streaming down my face and I have no idea why I'm crying. I look at my friend's mom and say, "Everything will be alright, Laura." I then lean in and I blow out the candle that was sitting in front of me. My friend then runs to turn on the light and she looks at me and says, "Why did you say her name like that?" Now, when I initially said the name Laura, I pronounced it as Laura. But when I was talking to her, I said Laura. I told my friend I wasn't sure why I had done any of that just now, but that it didn't feel like I was in control for a minute. It almost felt like someone else was steering. She then tells me that I said her mom's name exactly like her mom's ex Dale used to say her name. Her mom told us that Dale was extremely abusive and even tried to kill her towards the end of their relationship. Dale was killed in a motorcycle accident 5 years prior. We were so freaked out. Then my friend wanted to check her bedroom where we heard all of the crashing sounds. When we walked in, her mattress, box spring, and frame were thrown around the room and her nightstand was knocked over. I still get the chills when I think about that night. Such a strange experience, and it definitely made me a believer. So how this all started was at my friend's house. We decided to mess with a Ouija board, and while we were, we connected with an entity that claimed to be a Native American child that was struck due to being SA'd. It just so happened my friend's house is on Native American land. My other friend decided to hit me in the back and I removed my hands off the planchette. It was fine for a while until I felt as if though someone was in a room with us. Now, for more context, my family has an odd connection with the paranormal. There are multiple mediums in our family, me being one of them. Anyway, we were all sitting on my friend's bed. I looked over and seen what looked like to be a little girl run out of the steps. So I got up and went to look. It had the face of a man. From that point on, it followed me during its attacks. It tried to pull me further into a closet, and it had hand marks on my shoulders and my neck, shutting off the power to my room. Left me with multiple scratches multiple times, turned the stove on, would tap on the walls and doors 3 times, and all I can really see was a dark mist, like it was disrupted on how light passed through it. Sometimes I could see people clear as day. One time I had his name written down so I can look into it, but I burnt the paper for my safety, and I'm dyslexic, so I forgot how to spell it, but I still remember how to pronounce it. I even had horrible dreams. Well, in this one dream, I seen a tree with initials on it, and I can't remember the last letter. But it was a EK, and I think a J. I ended up looking it up and found it on a sketchy website. I found that it had pictures of the trees that I've seen in my dreams, and it said that he single-handedly took out small tribes by gaining their trust and then killing all the adults and repeatedly assaulting the children until they starved to death. I think it was 2 to 3 small tribes he killed until he was murdered by someone himself. It's not known, but it's suspected that it was one of the adults that managed to survive, or if one of the children got away. Years ago, my boyfriend and I randomly started having sleep paralysis episodes 4 to 5 nights a week. Neither of us had ever experienced them before that. He always had a feeling that something was in the room, and sometimes he couldn't breathe. Luckily, I never did. For some reason, with me, it was only this overwhelming dread and fear of falling back to sleep. I was awake that night, and I could see the room lit by the TV or the nightlight. I was able to move my eyes, but that was about it. I could not speak or scream or reach for my boyfriend to wake me. I would try to will myself to roll off the bed to wake myself up, but I never could. We realized that we both would try to yell for the other to snap us out of it, and eventually figured out that although we couldn't speak or yell, we could make this grunting type breath sound that would occasionally work to wake the others so we can help each other out. It would always happen to us on the same nights, but never at the same time. At the time, we were living in a 1-bedroom, so we had a bunk bed to save space, and my son, who was 5 at the time, slept on the top bunk. He started telling us one day that he would see shadow people standing in the room at night. He described them as people who were the shape of Nana and Papa, but all dark and no faces. My parents are still alive, so it meant to me maybe one of them was tall and one was short. I don't know, it was also strange. I had absolutely no idea that shadow people were actually a thing until years later when I heard it on a TV show. My son woke us up crying one night, and he told us that one of them pushed his face into the pillow hard that he couldn't even breathe. I was clearing out old stuff one day, and I had a cardboard box full of teacups and other glass decor sitting on the floor about 6 feet away from the ladder on a bunk bed where my son would climb up. We woke up that night to a bang and him screaming. He was on the floor inches from the box of glass stuff. He was sobbing about that something picked him up and threw him off the bed. He couldn't have jumped from the top, because the ceiling is way too low. Now, he probably could have done it from the ladder, but we'll always wake up when he climbed down because the whole thing was metal and it would squeak and shake like crazy. After that, we really started freaking out because the accumulating events had only started about a month prior and none of it made sense. Now, my boyfriend finally figured it out one day. We had a big plastic 4-shelf unit with tons of board games. Sitting on the top of the shelf between Clue and Mousetrap was a Ouija board that I had picked up at a yard sale with a bunch of other board games about a month earlier. I didn't really think anything of it at the time. I just bought them, stuck them on the shelf, and forgot all about it. My boyfriend was so pissed. I immediately took it out to the dumpster. After it was gone, neither of us had ever had sleep paralysis again, and my son never spoke of the shadow people or had weird stuff happen to him ever again. I never really believed in demons or such things, although I did have a handful of scary unexplainable things happen to me as a kid in the 150-year-old house I grew up in. But stuff like Ouija boards never really scared me, although I don't think I ever used one either. After what happened to us, I fully believe that there are dark energies or forces or something that can be attached to things or places, and yeah, a Ouija board is very cliche for that type of thing, but I'm thinking there's a reason that it became so cliche, and unfortunately, we had to find out the hard way. Now for the record, the Ouija board wasn't an antique or anything special. It was a regular Parker Brothers game, I believe, and it looked like it was from the 80s or early 90s. It was from a sweet older woman's home who had a bunch of 80s and 90s toys in a yard sale. It definitely didn't seem like the home of a Satanist or anything like that. I can't claim to know if it was a ghost, a spirit, a demon, or just multiple things. I just know what happened, and it started after I brought that board into my home, and it stopped right after it was gone. We never even used it. I never even opened the box until the day I threw it out. My scientific mind is still trying to make sense of it all, but deep down, I know I never will. Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri K, and this is the end of the video. Please leave a comment and let us know your opinions on the matter. If you happen to like this content, please check out our other videos. Make sure you like and share amongst your friends and family to help our community grow. You happen to be new to this channel? Please make sure you subscribe. It's free, and you can always change it in the future. You have some terrifying story suggestions? If so, make sure that you send it to my email, fearofthedarkstories@gmail.com, and I'll feature it in a future segment. But you guys stay safe out there, and remember to always be afraid of the dark.